Vatican City is the smallest country in the world, home of the Pope, who is the head of the Roman Catholic Church, and the Pope directs the government of the Church. Vatican City is also called the Vatican or the Holy See. Holy See is the name given to the government of the Roman Catholic Church, which is led by the Pope as the Bishop of Rome. As such, the Holy See's authority extends over Catholics throughout the world. Since 1929, it has resided in Vatican City, which was established as an independent state to enable the Pope to exercise his universal authority. Vatican City is an enclave in the Rome city of Italy, situated on the west bank of the Tiber River. It is surrounded by medieval and Renaissance walls, forming its boundaries, except on the southeast at St. Peter's Square, Plaza San Pietro. It has a large church called St. Peter's Basilica, the Vatican Palace and other buildings. Vatican Palace contains the Pope's apartments, museums, a library, and the Sistine Chapel. The Piazza Arch of the Bells of St. Peter's Basilica and the entrance to the Vatican museums and galleries in the North Wall are open to the public. 3 out of 6 entrances open to public. St. Peter's Basilica is the most prominent building, built during 4th century and rebuilt during the 16th century, erected over the tomb of St. Peter the Apostle. It is the second largest religious building after Yamoussoukro Basilica in Christendom. Sistine Chapel is famous for its ceiling, which has scenes from the Bible that were painted by the artist Michelangelo. UNESCO declared Vatican City a World Heritage Site in 1984. Clergymen, lay people, and the Vatican military, Swiss Guards, are included in the population. Pope and hundreds of members of the Church's government live and work in Vatican City. Dozens of Swiss Guards who protect the Pope also live with their families in the city. Vatican City has more than 3,000 other people working. Most of them live in Rome. Most people speak Italian. Latin language is used in official documents and in some church services. Vatican City is an absolute monarchy, where the Pope is sovereign with complete civil and political authority. Pope, however, delegates his temporal governing power to the Pontifical Commission of 5 Cardinals, headed by the Secretary of State for Vatican City, confining himself to the spiritual leadership of the Church. Lateran Treaty of 1929, citizenship is given to all persons and their families whose offices require that they live in the territory and ends when their office or residence is terminated. It is never acquired by birth, but is always voluntary. Vatican City is pledged by the Lateran Treaty to permanent neutrality in international relations. It is bound not to wage war or to enter alliances that might lead to war. It may not take part in international attempts to settle disputes among nations unless made direct appeal. The Lateran Treaty gives the right to the Holy See to send and receive diplomats. It guarantees the Vatican full communication with other governments, even those at war with Italy. Pope maintains diplomatic relations with the governments of nearly all the world's countries. Papal nuncio is a Vatican diplomat who has the rank of full ambassador in the country where he serves. A papal representative with a diplomatic status is an apostolic delegate and serves as an intermediary between the Vatican and the Roman Catholics of the country to which he is assigned. Vatican City's economy is different from the economies of other countries. Roman Catholics around the world give money to their local churches. As the Holy See, it derives its income from the voluntary contributions of more than 1 billion Roman Catholics worldwide. Vatican City then receives some of that money. Vatican City has its own astronomical observatory, telephone system, post office, radio station, banking system, and pharmacy. Almost all supplies including food, water, electricity and gas must be imported. There is no income tax and no restriction on the import or export of funds. Vatican also sells books, stamps, coins and souvenirs. Tourists pay to see its museums. Banking operations and expenditures have been reported public since the early 1980s. Vatican City was an important center of Roman Catholic faith from the early days of the Church. As the first Pope, St. Peter is thought to live and die here. By the 4th century, Rome became center of Roman Catholic Church. Papal influence in central Italy began to increase in the 5th century as Roman Empire fell apart and people began to rely on the Pope. After 750s, the popes controlled much of central Italy. That area was called the Papal States. In 1870, the government of Italy took over the last of the church lands. In 1929, the Italian government agreed to let Vatican City become an independent country. In the mid of 8th century, Lombards tried to conquer all of Italy. Pope Stephen II appealed for help to the Frankish king Pippin III, who helped and took back land from the Lombards and gave it to the church in 754. In 756, the church gained more territory from the Lombards and the Papal States were created, with Rome as the capital. Pope ruled over the Papal States, which stretched across most of what is now central Italy until 1870. Italy became a unified country in the 19th century and the church lost its land to the new nation. Some of the papal territories voted to join Italy in 1859. Italy annexed the rest of the papal states in 1870 and made Rome the Italian capital. Unification of Italy was protested by Pope. Thereafter remained a voluntary prisoner of the Vatican. This lasted nearly 60 years. Finally, the government of Italy and the papacy signed the Lateran Treaty on February 11, 1929. Lateran Treaty created Vatican City with territory of 44 hectares on Vatican Hill as an independent state. Pope as absolute sovereign with complete freedom from all secular political authority. Boundary area of Vatican State is fixed and unchangeable. Pope also has jurisdiction over areas outside Vatican City where church functions or has historic interest. Buildings that house pontifical ministries, key historical churches, Basilica of St. John Lateran, Santa Maria Maggiore and St. Paul. The catacombs, Castel Gandolfo, the former residence of popes in the 17th century, 10 kilometers away in the southeast of Rome. St. Peter's Basilica and Vatican Palace both preserve an extraordinary record of history and art. Both religious and secular, St. Peter's Basilica, where two pilgrims have journeyed for centuries, and Vatican Palace, home of Pope since the 14th. St. Peter's Basilica is the second largest Christian church in the world. First one in Yamoussoukro, imitation of St. Peter's. St. Peter's is built on the site of 4th century basilica believed to enclose tomb of St. Peter, that founder of the church. Designed by great architects Donato, Bramante, Raphael, and Michelangelo. Michelangelo designed the Great Dome. Sculptor Bernini contributed a lot in sculpture and decoration of basilica. Several celebrated Renaissance artists contributed in its decorations and beautification. In 1377, Pope Gregory XI began to reside in a house on Vatican Hill and gradually it became a palace. Vatican Palace is a collection of buildings of different periods with 5.5 hectares area and contain more than 1400 rooms. The surrounding area consists of former gardens, small portions taken up by the apartments of the Pope, the Secretary of State and other officials. Images for the vast library and to the many museums that house great art treasures. The Sistine Chapel is most celebrated part with magnificent frescoes by Michelangelo. Ceiling has 9 scenes that depict story of Genesis from the creation to the flood. On the wall behind the altar is the Last Judgments painted from 1533 to 1541. The second major chapel is called the Bolin. It is the parish church of the Vatican. Pinacoteca, a picture gallery, houses hundreds of paintings by Giotto, Fra Angelico, Leonardo da Vinci, Titian, Sandro Botticelli, Perugino, Pinturicchio, Correggio, Guido Reni, and other masters. Collection of classical sculpture, one of the foremost in the world, is displayed in the museums east of the library, the Chiaramonti and the Pio Clementinum. Masterful frescoes and remarkable paintings are found on the walls of the Borgia apartments and the Raphael rooms. Vatican museums also contain and display large collections of relics from Egyptian, Etruscan and Roman times and from early Christian days. Immense archives contain records of the Holy See dating back to the 13th century. Equally important to scholars is the collection of manuscripts and early printed books in the library, one of the great libraries of the world. There is also a major geographic chart collection. Vaticans consume more wine per capita than anywhere else in the world. The average Vatican resident has double the consumption of wine than capital countries of France and Italy. Vatican residents eat communally in larger groups and its only supermarket in the city sells wine duty free, which results in the higher consumption.